Welcome to the Roundtable, the Golfbet Roundtable, live from Royal Montreal ahead of the President's Cup. We are so excited to be here. This place is going to be absolutely pumping come Thursday as the international team takes on the US, trying to get up after many, many years of struggle. We're going to give you all the analysis around this place. Let's go check it out.
We are on site. Bienvenue à Montreal. Golfbet is here at the President's Cup. I'm Will Gray, joined by Ben Everill and Matt Delvecchio. Guys, we're so excited to be here all week long for the Golfbet team. A ton to unpack in this roundtable from Royal Montreal, but I guess I first want to start with our initial thoughts from Onsite. This is a course that has hosted the President's Cup in 2007, has hosted past RBC Canadian Opens, recently in 2014. Ben, I'll start with you. We're here right off the fairway on the 18th hole. What are your thoughts on what we're going to see from a course condition perspective and how it might influence bets and matches?
I hope we just get here on the 18th a few times for the international boys. As you know, they've only had that one win, but look, I've seen some juicy rough early. I've seen the internationals out there practicing. I just watched Hideki Matsuyama chop it, trying to go for the green and it go 15 yards in the deep stuff. So that's out there if they miss the fairways. That's something to watch out for. I think they did that deliberately, the internationals. They want to make it a little bit difficult if you stray off. They're hoping that some accuracy from their team will play well and they can just make some putts. My strategy, stay away from the outright market early. As much as I want to say the internationals have a chance, I'm not necessarily advocating to jump on that in the outright market. I'm saying let's go individual day by day. Let's go match by match. It's match play. It's awesome. We get to see how that goes, and don't forget their ties. There's ties out there as well.
Well, that was going to be my next question. I'll tee it up for you here, Matt, is when we look at the President's Cup, it's different from your week-to-week PGA Tour event. We have match play. We're starting Thursday, running through Sunday. As a bettor, how do you approach this, maybe from a bankroll perspective or bets that and markets you're going to target, as opposed to maybe a weekly card that has a couple of outrights, some top 10s, top 20s, and maybe a head-to-head?
This is the one time of the year, one time where golfers are able to parlay. I'm looking at daily parlays of the matches. I think it's a great opportunity to build that bankroll, small value, win big value. We only have one event, so why not? And I'm very excited to see this week the Canadians. Are the fans going to come out? Is this going to be an amazing atmosphere? I think it will be, and I think parlays can bring big wins this week.
So you're going to have to put some internationals on those parlays if you want some
Absolutely.
value. Because there's short odds, obviously, for the US team. Well, I don't know about you, but I do feel like the internationals can find a way, though. It's going to be tough. They can find a way.
They
believe? Can we believe?
Yes. Okay, so we have a jar here in the media center. Every time Ben Everill says we for the international team, he's putting $1 in. There's a conversion issue this week with Canadian money, but we're going to still rack it up, I think. Listen, there are ways for the internationals to win. There are ways for them to keep it close. We got to probably start with the latter and get to the former. We'll get into that more as we continue in this show, but Ben, I think the key early on, not to tip my hand, 4 balls. Thursday, Captain Mike Weir is starting with 4 balls. The last 2 President's Cups played outside the U.S. You go to Korea in 2015, Australia in 2019. The international team is up 12-6 in 4 balls. You have to get off to a fast start. That's going to include those 5 matches on Thursday. But let's continue to break it down. Let's look at the sides. What's going to go right for the U.S.? What do the internationals need to win? All that and more coming up. All right, we have shifted a bit here at Royal Montreal. Just over our shoulder here are the team rooms. We got one for the internationals, one for the Americans. It feels fitting since we're talking a team competition, who's going to come out on top. And Ben, it's been red, white, and blue for about 2 decades here. The U.S. has won every President's Cup since 2005. The all-time record, 12-1-1. That victory, as I'm sure you remember, in 1998. In Australia, they also had a 17-17 tie back in 2003 in South Africa. So Matt, this is a week where once again, the Americans on paper are deserved favorites. Depending on where you shop, we're looking at -250 for the US to win in a 3-way market that includes that tie. If you go to a 2-way market where a tie is a no bet, you're looking to lay about -350 for the Americans to win again. The paperwork says they've got some of the best players in the world, led of course by Scottie Scheffler and Xander Schauffele, who combined for 3 of the 4 majors this year, plus the players for Scheffler. What do you look at from the Americans in terms of their strength and what necessarily needs to go in their favor, especially early on this week?
Yeah, I think there's no surprise that the Americans have an advantage here. And when you're looking at it from a betting standpoint, -250 isn't the worst odds ever that you could think of to take the American side. So maybe if you wait for a live bet, you're really hoping the internationals get an early lead, but that -250 might be the best number that you get right now if you want the Americans. So it's going to be a toss-up, and it's really something that you're going to want to look at. Either do I jump now or do I wait?
Well, put it this way. It was -700 2 years ago before this thing kicked off.
There you go.
And they obviously won at Quail Hollow. The internationals, though, they're getting a bit more love from the odds makers this year. Maybe there is an upset in the cards here. I've always been the one to say it can happen. I've wavered a little bit over the last few years. 2019 in Australia, they really should have got it done. They had the blueprint. 2019 shows what the international team has to do. They have to lead early. They have to hold a lead through the team matches. They have to go into singles with a lead, or at least be close to the lead, and then they have a chance, because anyone can win an 18-hole match, whether you're Scotty Scheffler, Xander Schauffele. On their day, they can be beaten in 18 holes. So the internationals know they need a fast start. You talked about it earlier. Well, we need to get off to a 4-ball streak, get started and sort of carry it from there. If they get behind the 8-ball early, it's really tough for them from that spot.
Also remember the format that we're going to have this week. We've got 5 matches, 4 balls on Thursday. We've got 5 matches on Friday. So 10 points are going to be doled out before we get into a double match session on Saturday. And Ben, you were there at Quail Hollow 2 years ago. By Friday night, dinner time, it was over.
It was
8-2, and you could have shipped that cup back home to Ponte Vedra Beach, because they just dug
10,000.
They dug too big of a hole. So now I'm with Matt. I think minus 250 on a 3-way line, that's a little light. If you look at some of the chaos that's happened in the NFL or college football right now, you look at what you have to back for a minus 250 money line favorite. I'd rather have the Americans this week right now, looking at what we have, because these two teams, they're just not quite equals. How much are you putting in for home course advantage? How much are you putting in for the Canadians playing to the fans? How much are you putting into the intangibles and maybe some of these rookies or players that are not as familiar to American fans versus the internationals needing the U.S. to falter a little bit?
Oh, yeah. If you want an international win, if you feel like it's possible, those things all have to happen. Not just one of them. It's all of them. They all have to happen. The Canadians have to step up. Look, Connors and Pendrith were in the last event 0-4, both of them. That cannot happen. They cannot happen. No one can go 0-4 essentially on the international team. You need someone like Jason Day, who's played plenty of these but never done well in them, to step up and be vintage Jason Day. You need Adam Scott to make putts. You need Hideki to make putts. You need them to join the 5 putters on the team that have been selected, like Mackenzie Hughes, etc. That all has to happen. We need energy from the 2 young stars in Minwoo Lee and Tom Kim again. They have to get the crowd on board. They have to get everyone cheering. And you know what, the Canadians, if you're out there, if you're here, get aggressive, get loud. Don't be so polite this week, okay? I know, I get it. You've seen these lovely American golfers that are really great. You haven't seen them.
Reeling back in.
Come on.
Reeling back in. Come on
Fire
back.
it
Come
up.
on back.
You're going to have to create a cauldron. You're going to have to create an atmosphere if you want this to happen. That's what they need. They need all those intangibles, as you said, to happen. It's not 1 or 2 of them. If you're going to get through a drought that has been, as you said, decades long, something has to be a circuit breaker. And all of those things need to fall into place.
I think Ben brings up a really good point. I really think the crowd is a big thing this week. If the internationals are going to push the Americans for a win, they need the crowd behind them, the Canadian motivation. That's what needs to happen. And like you said, the Minwoo Lees, the young guys, like with those guys, bring that energy, push the older guys, the Days, the Scotts, and be like, hey, we got something going on. This is a new international team. It starts with them and it starts with the crowd. So that's going to be a big factor.
It's a new international team, but it's also, guys, a new American team in a lot of ways. This is the first international competition, President's Cup or Ryder Cup for the U.S. that doesn't include either Jordan Spieth or Justin Thomas since 2012. Yeah. We know what we're going to get from the likely pairing of Xander Schauffele and Patrick Cantlay, who over the last 2 President's Cups have combined in all but one of the team sessions. But my biggest question is the world number 1.
Yes.
The 3 of us have won the same number of President's Cup matches as Scotty Scheffler. That would be 0. What guys do you expect from Scheffler, and what do they need from him, especially if he's going to go out in a potentially presumptive pairing, alliteration special there, with his good friend Sam Burns?
Look, if Scheffler's going to have to, in the international point of view, he's going to have to do what he's always done in team play and suck. Sorry, he's going to have to miss putts. But the problem with that is, guess what he did this year? He improved his putting. So that is a problem. I said I think you can. I think Xander and Cantlay will have at worst a tied record over the team. They'll probably be a winning team. The internationals need Scheffler to lose. I'm worried though, because in previous years I could point to his putting being diabolical. It got better, and I think all the Americans too that were in Rome for the Ryder Cup have something to prove. That hurts the international chances as well.
I think for Scheffler, you don't really want to look at him for top overall point scorer, because he's a heavy favorite. You think he probably has to go 5-0, maybe 4 points. I think that's kind of something that's a little worrisome, but he's going to get his due. He's going to get the appearances out there. So it's like what Ben said. Does he start putting, or do we see a new Scheffler this week? Does he see the 0-3-1 record and go, man, I really got to turn that around and really boost up my match play record? Maybe, I don't know. Is there a hangover? I'm not really sure, but I definitely think Xander and Cantlay, when you're looking from the U.S. side, is maybe a little bit more trustworthy when you're looking at the top point scorer.
We're going to get into individual prop markets here in our next segment, but Matt, going back to the Scheffler point with top point scorer, you got to feel like Scheffler is most likely from the Americans to play all 5 sessions, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's going to go out. He's going to probably be with Burns. So you're thinking, do you like that Burns matchup with him and Scotty? He's going to play 5. Does he win all 5? Not sure.
We saw Jordan Spieth do it 2 years ago. We'll see. All right, next up, we're going to dive into the prop markets, the individual markets, all the different ways that you can build your bankroll here at the President's Cup. All right, gentlemen, we're here on the driving range ahead of the President's Cup. We've had a lot of time to discuss the team markets, which team's going to lift the cup, who's going to come out on top. But the great thing about this event from a bettor's perspective is that there are tons of ways to diversify your betting card, diversify your bankroll, get into the prop markets, get into the individual point scoring decisions. And that's where I want to take this discussion. And let's start with the Americans, right? So there's 12 on each, but you got to figure out who is going to rack up the most points. 2 years ago, it was Jordan Spieth going 5-0, kind of from nowhere, right? No one really saw that coming at Quail Hollow. But this week, Ben, I'm going to start with you. You got to put your red, white, and blue on. What's your angle of attack for looking at top U.S. point scorer this week at Royal Montreal?
Well, first of all, you're looking at guys who you think will play 5 times, right? Or at least 4 times, and hopefully they're going to rack up points that way. Obviously, the more chances you get at getting points, the better chance you are to be up on top of that market. So with that, I'm saying chalk here. I'm not going the Scheffler, but I am going Schauffele. I think Xander Schauffele is the bulldog of the team. He's obviously played really well this season. He gets to play with Cantlay, and they're a proven team together. I think you're only getting, 4-1 or 5-1 odds at most. But I do think that that's one of the conservative locks or something out there that you might see. Like Xander just happens to be playing really well. I don't think he's going to give up any easy points. So, sorry, it's chalk, but that's the way I'm going to go.
I'm going to take a little bit of a different spin on that. I like the Schauffele-Cantlay pairing, but I like the extra line value I'm getting with Patrick Cantlay.
Right.
The thought is they're going to probably be attached at the hip through the first 3 days. As one goes, so will go the other. And I'm getting a little extra value on Cantlay potentially outperforming the X-Man when it comes to Sunday singles. So I like Cantlay in that plus 600, plus 700 range, depending on where you're shopping, to be the top U.S. point scorer. Matt, which way are you heading for the Americans?
I'm going with the guy right behind Cantlay. I think he's the 5th favorite, and that's Sam Burns. You brought up earlier, Sam Burns is going to be playing with Scotty Scheffler. I don't know how explosive Scotty Scheffler will be. I think they'll win a couple matches, but it might be on Burns' back. I think Burns is hungry this week. If he is showing that he's playing well with Scheffler and it's because of him, I think he gets more looks on the weekend, Saturday, and then Sunday singles. I think Burns is a sneaky look. I think around that 5th range, which isn't too far down, which tells me the odds might agree with that.
Sam Burns carries Scotty Scheffler to victory.
Yes,
that will be
wow.
that'll be quite
Scotty
the headline.
Scheffler.
You heard it here first. All right, let's look at the other side. Let's look at Mike Weir's team for the Internationals. I'll lead things off. I'm going to go a bit off the radar. I got to get my chef's hat on. We're going to let him cook. He's already got the hairdo going. This could be a big week for Min-Woo Lee. We've seen international rookies come out in recent cups. You think back to Siwoo Kim shushing the crowd, Tom Kim 2 years ago at Quail Hollow. This could be Min-Woo's time to shine. The international team, they need a little spark plug. They need a jolt of energy. They need someone that can interact with these Canadian fans and get a home field advantage going. I think Min-Woo is just the guy to do it. He's all the way down at like plus 1,100, plus 1,200 in that range for top international point scorer. I don't think he'll play 5, but I think he'll play 4. Maybe 3-1 is enough to get top international point scorer. 3 points was enough for the internationals in that market 2 years ago at Quail Hollow. So give me the line value and a little bit of a sprinkle on the chef.
I love it, and I'll tell you why I love it, because we've been out here early, we've scouted around, I've talked to my international contacts, and we've seen Min-Woo practice with Adam Scott. Adam Scott is the captain, essentially, of this playing team, the playing captain, if you will, the spiritual leader. I expect he'll play a lot, and I expect he'll take Min-Woo out in a lot of those matches. Min-Woo is going to be pumped. Scotty already said that he's absolutely leading the team room. He's got everyone's energy up. So I almost want to jump off my original pick and go with you, but I'll go back to my original pick before getting all that information. Siwoo Kim for me. He's one of the only international team members that actually has a winning record in this format at the President's Cup. I think he's going to have to play well if they want to do well. So Siwoo Kim for me is the top international this week.
So when you're looking at this, you got to assume an international is not going to go 5-0. You got to assume that 4 might be the number.
Brendan Gregg's done it before.
He did it before. 2022, it was 3 points That was the top international point scorer. So 4 might be enough. I'm taking out the shovel. I'm digging a little deeper, and I'm taking Minwoo's, the Canadian Minwoo of Mackenzie Hughes. He's going to get the crowd going. Out of all the Canadians, he is the most emotional out of the 3. He's got an amazing putter. I think he's going to explode this week, get everybody going. Yes, has to hit this bet, and that's why I like Mackenzie Hughes. I think he's going to be big this week.
Best putter on the team, so that's not bad there. If you want to look at someone who's going to make putts, he has to make putts if they're going to play well.
I do think that's been a change. If you look at how Trevor Immelman built this team in 22 versus what Mike Weir's done, you have to have those putts. I think he's got a little bit of a better putting arsenal, especially among the captain's picks. But let's look to some best bets. Let's continue to stay in these prop markets. The betting menu this week is bigger than the Cheesecake Factory. You can go any which way you want. I'll start things off, guys. From my perspective, we talked about the 4-ball and the need for the internationals to get off to a hot start. But then it's going to come back around the other way, and you're going to play foursomes on Friday. Going back to 2007, the U.S. has a 56.5 to 23.5 advantage in foursomes in the President's Cup. All of their struggles in this format in the Ryder Cup are flipped on their head when it comes to the President's Cup. I think that trend is going to continue. Give me the U.S. minus 150 to win day 2. I don't care about what happens day 1. I think they're going to take at least 3 out of the 5 points in day 2 once we get to foursomes play.
Give me day 1. I'll go to day 1, and I'll say the plus 200, was it, for the internationals to lead after the first session. Give me the 4-balls. They need to get off to a hot start. They need to get the crowd going. If this is going to happen for them, it's going to happen on Thursday. So I'll take the plus money for day 1.
Yes.
I'll take the plus money on the internationals, getting off to a hot 4-ball start and getting that lead and hopefully holding on all the way through this tournament.
Breaking news, Ben Everill likes the internationals to succeed. Go ahead, Matt.
I will say, if that happens, internationals lead after day 1, are we going to get Ben on Friday being like, hey, let's live bet the Americans? We've got a good line on the Americans. Are you going to stick with the internationals if they win if day 1?
I think, as I agree with Will, I think the Americans will win Friday. So that makes it imperative for the international team to win Thursday. Okay. So look, they're going to have any hope. I was there at Quail. Minus 700 to start before we even started. After the first day, minus 1,000. After the second day, minus 10,000. That can't happen again, obviously. Even though they fought back on Saturday and got to, I think, minus 3,000 before singles, it's, that's just, all that's going to get you is a potential backdoor cover, which is a good segue, Matty, I believe, for your best bet.
Backdoor covers. I'm all over the backdoor cover. Internationals plus 3.5. Now listen, they can't get boat raced in the beginning of the week. I think they can be around 3, maybe 4 points down going into Sunday singles, and then that's a backdoor.
Tall task.
That's a backdoor waiting to happen. I mean, even if they're down 5, they have a big Sunday. Maybe they're like, hey, we're not going to win this thing, but let's show out for Canada. Let's show out for our home turf and backdoor that number. So that plus 3.5 is a little juicy. Even if it's a bad week, they can still hit that plus 3.5 on Sunday.
You know, the maximum PGA Tour events week to week is you can't win it on Thursday, but you can lose it. That might be the case for the President's Cup this week. All right, let's get down to brass tacks here. Give me a winning side and a winning score. I will go first, lead things off 17-13. I'm going against my friend here, Matt. I think the U.S. covers that 3.5 line by the hook. I think that it's going to be a little bit back and forth. I did take a gander at the plus 600 line for the U.S. to win every session or win every day. That has some value for me. It caught my eye, but I'm going to go the other way and leave that one on the table. 17-13, U.S. wins by 4, covers the minus 3.5. Ben?
All right, I'm going to have to go for my international crowd. If they get it done, it'll be very close. So let's go 15.5, 14.5. Let's say the boys can do it from there. If you're going to get juicy odds for that, they're obviously, if they're going to win, I don't see it being a rout. I don't see them obviously getting up and killing this US team by any stretch of the imagination. If they're going to win it, it's going to be close. I do like what Matt's saying, the cover number. I think plus 3.5 is good for the national team, but let's just dare to dream. Let's dare to dream for that 15.5, 14.5. Don't put your house on it, though.
I'm pretty close. I think 16-14 USA, and like I said, even if they're up 4-5 come Sunday, backdoor that, get it close, show some motivation. But I think throughout the week, I mean, this is a big new international squad. I think they're going to show out. I don't know if they're going to win. I don't think they're going to win, but I do think they keep it close.
It's going to be an exciting week here at Royal Montreal. We're excited to see it all unfold as the President's Cup gets back onto the tee, and we'll see which team ends up lifting the cup. Ben, if it's black and yellow, you might be walking on cloud 9 back to Los Angeles. But it's going to be a great week. Stay tuned to Golfbet for all the coverage from Onsite here at Royal Montreal. We'll see you next time.